Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Business of Wellness podcast. I'm David Guttman, your host. If you find this content useful, please like, subscribe, and share. My guest today is, I'm so excited for Shawn Loutsis. Oh, God, hopefully I didn't murder that name.
Nope.
So the founder and CEO of United Commercial.
Yep.
Also an executive producer of indie films. And we'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But maybe for this episode, at least, the most important, client zero for Titan Arc.
Yes.
So, but of course, I want to get into all of that and kind of your journey and kind of, where your head is at on your sort of wellness and longevity journey. But I always try to cover at least a little bit of the entrepreneurial journey, because I think that that's so core to, who you are. And I think it's also part of the story that I think that's interesting. So if I remember from some earlier conversations that I've heard you have, that your dad was an entrepreneur too, and that he basically put you and your brother to work from the time you were like 10.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe talk a little bit about, what you learned through that journey and what made you decide to want to be an entrepreneur yourself.
Well, I started out, as you said, with my father. By 10 years old, he would drop me and my older brother, who was 3 years older than me. So he was 13, I was 10. He would drop us off at, he was totally residential. Well, we did some commercial, but he was mostly residential. So he would drop us off at the first project that he had scheduled for the day, and he would go on to the second project he had scheduled for the day, and he would come back and pick us up, and we'd lay the carpet in the first project, and he would do the second one. And I did that ever since I was 10 years old. And so
was there like an apprenticeship? Like, were you trained on how to do this, or you just learned?
Yeah, I was trained by my father and my brother, of course, but it's self-taught to
Right.
to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Just by watching.
Well, and then, and if I remember correctly, when we were talking yesterday, that the way you would get some time off was you'd have to run away from home.
Yeah, that's what I call it. Run away from home. That's funny. Yeah, I would every summer, my friends would be at the beach, at 12, at 13, 14, 15 years old, they'd be at the beach and I'd be, at work. And so it got tiresome. So I thought, hey, I know how to beat that. I got my one friend, Mike Kropp. He was a good friend of mine, and his mom. He lived with his mom at the time, and she would. Sorry for saying that, she's passed away now, so she doesn't care. But she would lie for me. I would tell her, hey, do not. My dad's going to call. My mom's probably going to call, and they're going to ask if I'm here. Please, for the love of God, tell them I'm not here. And sure enough, that's how I would get my days off. I would literally run away from home.
And they never figured that out, huh?
Oh, they never figured it out. I didn't tell them.
Oh, that's funny. Well, so now, and you weren't on the payroll though, so this is all free labor, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was like pulling teeth to get any money from my father. Gas money, they're all the way through high school. I didn't even have lunch money. I'm a big boy. I could make my own lunch and bring it, but I wouldn't, because my friends would just give me a piece of their hamburger or something. We'd go, and that's how I got through high school.
Okay.
So getting money was tough.
Well, so then you decided, what made you decide you wanted to be an entrepreneur yourself? So you'd seen your dad do it. Was he pretty successful? Was he more struggling? Like, how was that?
Oh,
how was that journey?
He was very successful. He was a hard worker. He would work day and night. He would work all day at the carpet, laying job. Royal Carpet was his baby. He started, and he would work that, and then he would go from there to, he bought houses. At one time he owned like 17 homes himself, and he would buy fixers, and I mean like fixers, like not just going to do cosmetic. Literally, my brother and I would help him fix up houses. We'd jack them, some houses up off the foundation, pour new foundations underneath. Yeah, he was entrepreneur, to say the least.
So that's where you got it from. So did you always know that you thought that was something you wanted to do yourself?
Yeah, I thought for the longest time, till I was 18, all of 8 years, that's what I would do for the rest of my life, was floor covering. And then I got in an accident, snow skiing. I tore my knee up, my right knee, going off of a jump weird, and I landed weird, and next thing I knew, I popped my ACL, And okay, back then they used to flay you open. There was no such thing as arthroscopic surgery. That I wish. And you'd be in a cast for, I don't know, 6 weeks or 6 months. I forget. It was so long ago. But then I would get out of the cast. So I knew, I knew it would be at least 8 months, maybe even a year before I could get down and lay carpet again. So I, a friend of mine, I met a friend. He offered me a job. Holding the dumb end, I call it the dumb end of the chalk line and the tape measure, because that's really all I could do was just hold it for while he measured and snapped lines and stuff, in drywall. And so I I ended up liking it. I liked it because I got paid, steady, and it was steady. It was every week. You
Right.
know, the company I worked for paid every week. I like, what? I get paid, and I get paid every week. It was night and day compared to. I remember, at at midnight, my brother and I would be knocking on somebody's door that owed us a couple grand at the time or whatever, and we'd ask for money, and about the time when he said, we knocked the door, the guy answered the door and said, hey, sue me for the money. That's when I got,
Yeah.
that's when it hit home. Maybe this weekly pay is good. So yeah, I stuck with it.
So basically, a skiing accident. 'Cause you have a very successful drywall business. A ski accident basically determined your career path in a weird way.
Yeah. Yeah, in a weird way, because I called Dad one day and said, hey, I like drywall. I'm sticking with it. And he was hurt at the time, and he wanted me to follow in his footsteps and stuff, but he was very understanding of, why I wanted to do it, and so the rest is history. I did that. I worked for the company for 17 years, and before I went on my own. And um, I decided, one day, just to leave work and drive home early. It was my wife at the time was laid off, and she was at home, and she looked at me in the eye and said, "Hey, you're home early. Why are you home?" And I said, "Well, I quit." And man, I got read the riot act at that point. It was like, "Wait, what? You quit? I'm laid off. How could you just quit?" And I go, we're starting our own business, our own drywall business. And she was a genius, status. Her IQ was like 150 something, and I knew she could do the books, and I couldn't do the books to save my life, but I knew she could. So I told her, I said, hey, I'm going to create a job for both of us. I'm going to do the drywall portion, and you're going to keep the books. And we just doubled in size every year.
There had to be a trigger point, I would think. Like, so your wife gets laid off and you just decide, hey, after, what'd you say, 18, 17, 18 years, you're going to go out on your own. There had to be something that flipped that.
Well, there was.
Okay.
Yeah, there was. There's some animosity between
Okay.
PCS and I. So the guy that brought me on, to hold the dumb end of the we ended up being partners, and I became a framer, drywaller, and we ran work together. We always ran work. Occasionally we would go to somebody else's job, but usually we would run the job. And his partner at the time took on another partner, and he would run another job. So we did that for a while. Well, then it came time after about, I don't know, 15 years or so. He retired, because he was older than I was at the time, and no, let me take that back. He went into the office and he ran manpower for a while, and while I stayed out in the field and ran my own jobs and stuff, and learned the trade much better. Learned how to run work, how to estimate, and whatever. And it came down to, uh, everybody knows Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
So it was back in the 90s, early 90s, I think, because I retired. I started my own company in 96, so it had to be the mid 90s. Um, I got moved from my job finished, so I got moved down to Microsoft to kind of kill time, whatever. And um, it came that I was still a foreman. I would run out to jobs, and they were smaller jobs, and, you know, 7 units, 20 units, whatever Microsoft was building at the time. I would run, but I would meet inspectors, and I was doing foreman work, and I wasn't getting paid foreman's pay. This was a union outfit, and so I talked to one of the guys that worked there with me, and he did even more than I did as far as running work um, at the time, and he wasn't getting foreman's pay. I approached my boss at the time and said, "Hey, you know, we need foreman's pay." Brent, his name was Brent, and I need foreman's pay. We're doing foreman's work, and foreman's pay was only $2 an hour more.
Oh my God.
It was a joke. It wasn't even worth it to be the foreman, but yet, you know, you got the status of being the foreman, so you did it. And so that went on for about a week, and he finally came back to me, my boss did, and said, "Okay, I got one pay, you know, one of you can get foreman's pay." And I said, "Well, then it's going to be Brent, because he's been here longer, and I'm going to put on my tools, and I'll be the best drywaller you have, the best framer you have, the best door installer you have. But that's it. Don't have me jump in my truck and drive and meet your foreman or your inspectors to make money." And he said, "Well, we don't have enough money in the budget, you know, to pay both of you." And I said, "Look, I know your budget. You make a couple $1 million a year off of micro." This was back in the 90s. A couple million was like making 20.
No money.
And so I know you make a couple million. You know, you can't pull the wool over my eyes. So here's what we're going to do. We're either going to pay me foreman's pay, and I'm going to continue on, you know, meeting your inspectors and running your work, and you'll make your $2 million, or don't bother me. I'll be happy as a clam just to put my tools on and go to work for you." Okay. So I did that for a day. It lasted like half a day, and I get a call. Back then it was pagers. So you know, in the early 90s, it was pagers, and so I would get a page, and oh man, I'd go to a phone. I had to find a phone, a landline, which existed then, and call in and say, "Okay, where," and you know, "Where do you want me?" or whatever. And they would tell me, "Well, can you just meet this one inspector? We're just going to ask you this one time." "Okay, I'll do it once." And then it became every day. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. You're asking me to
$2 an hour.
yeah, to do foreman's work, and you're not paying me foreman's pay. So again, I'm going to tell you for the last time, I'll put my tools on. I'll go to work for you. I'll be the best employee that you've ever had. Just know that I'm not going to get in my own truck and use my own gas to go make you more money." And so I gave him an ultimatum. I said, "By noon tomorrow, you're going to come to me, and you're either going to give me foreman's pay, or I'm going to jump in the truck and I'm going to head home, and you'll never see me again." And man, I tell you, 11:30 rolled around. It was the longest half hour of my life. I was like, I was torn because I gave him the ultimatum, and that's kind of how I am. Once I give the ultimatum.
Now,
So
were you not, you know, it had to be pretty scary, like, you know, because, you know, it was not like you've just been at this for a few years. You've been at this for a decade and a half plus, and now you're going to go out on your own. And oh, by the way, your wife's unemployed. Like, that's not a small thing. I mean,
no.
that had to be, well, so while you might be terrific at your work, now you had to go out and find business. Like, that had to be new, right?
Yeah. You know, a lot of people still to this day think that I took customers with me. You know, well, you knew a lot of people anyway. Well, I'm the kind of guy that refused to do that. If I step out on my own, it's on my own, 100%. So I developed new customers, and I would start out with bathroom remodels. You know, commercial. I was always commercial. I didn't do anything residential. But let's say you want your bathroom remodeled, and you're not going to do it yourself, so you're going to bid it out, and I would do that. And yeah, it was nerve-wracking jumping in the truck, heading home to my wife, who had just been laid off, and telling her that we're going to start our own business, and don't worry, honey. In the back of my mind, I was worried. Yeah, I was like, oh man, how am I going to do this? I'm going to start out with 5,000, and how am I going to even make it? And sure enough. So I ended up calling my older brother, and he had gotten into some financial trouble, and decided, hey, let's do it together. And I said at the time, I don't want a partner, but I'll treat you like a partner. And he believed me, and I did. I treated him like a partner, and we did, I don't know, 75,000 the first year. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it was at the time.
Right.
It was a living, put it that way.
Sure.
But it was it caused me to work probably 18 to 20 hours a day, because I would go to work in the morning. I'd get up, go hang drywall, frame, whatever called. I'd come home, have dinner, and then I'd sit at the table and estimate for the next job, because if you didn't have more work to do,
Yeah.
it didn't do any good. So I was working around the clock, and I remember to this day, it was almost a year later, I looked over across at my brother, who was taping drywall, and I was hanging drywall. It was like 6 a.m. We had been there for a couple hours already, and we were late to the next project as it was. And I looked and I said, "We're killing ourselves. We can't maintain this." And he says, "Well, why?" Well, because I'm killing myself. Put it that way,
Yeah.
because I'm going home and I'm estimating. That's why we're at work today, because I estimated, got the job. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, I could go on and
Well,
on.
how did you scale? So, I mean, at some point, I mean, you now have this business for almost 30 years, right?
Mhm.
So at some point, I mean, I know how successful you are now. At some point, you scaled up. Like, where did you hit that inflection point where things kind of took off for you?
Well, it was the second year when I finally hired out people to do the work that I couldn't manage to myself. So it was tough getting started, because you can't just you don't just hire 10 people and keep them busy. You might hire 10 people, but in a couple weeks you're out of work. And so it was tough. I'd hire and lay off, and hire and lay off, and hire and lay off. Finally, after about the third year, I started keeping people on,
Hmm.
and no matter what, I would keep core people that made, that wanted to work and would do good. Uh, so we did 75 the first year, 150,000 the next year, 300,000 or 500,000 the third year, and then I remember like it was yesterday. We did our first $1 million+ project,
Right.
and I had the luxury of telling my late wife at the time that we're gonna branch out and do $1 million a project, honey. We're gonna do it. And she's like, "What? $1 million?" At the time, $1 million was like a $10 million project. And I said, "Yeah, you want to grow, right?" "Yeah, but I want to stay safe." Well, staying safe doesn't get us to the promised land. So we have to grow. We have to put all our eggs in one basket, and try and get this $1 million job done. So we did it, and we were successful. And the rest is history. Went from 3 million to now, where I think we do 12 million a year.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah,
amazing. This is such a wonderful story. It's funny, you hear people all the time talking about all the reasons why they can't do things. It's just nice
yeah,
to hear stories of people like just find a way to get it done.
yeah.
Well, so how do you because I know your daughter's an actress, and I think she's also going to film school now. I actually saw, the Snow White movie. How did you decide you're going to get into indie films, horror films of all that? Like that feels like quite a pivot from, framing and laying dry and putting up drywall.
Well, it kind of grew on me. She's been acting since she was 4 years old,
Okay.
and I've been doing film since she was like 12 years old. So a lot of people think that I brought her into the acting business, and it's the other way around.
Mm.
She brought me to the acting business, and I caught the bug probably when she was 11. I started thinking, well, why not invest in my own daughter instead of somebody else, whatever. So I did that, and that's actually how I met Rich. Was
Right.
on the set of The Black String, starring Frankie Muniz. Him and Brian Hansen well, it started from Sharif. Sharif pitched me, said, hey, I think I know somebody that has a couple bucks. He might be interested. His daughter's an actress, whatever. So at first, maybe Rich can correct me, but I think they offered her a small role. She might ride by on a bike, turn her head, and have black eyes, and that was it. So it ended up that I met them at a studio in Studio City, I think it was called, or Gower Studio, or I don't remember what the studio was called. But we met there, and I remember Tammy, my wife, couldn't go because her mom was ill at the time and she wanted to stay home. So I said, well, let me take Sanaya with me and whatever. So we met them, and they ended up meeting Sanaya at the meeting, obviously. And they were so impressed, they called me the other day, hey, we want to offer her a role. In fact, she has 2 roles. They're short, but she'll be with Frankie each role. She'll have speaking role with Frankie, and oh, okay, that's you sweeten the pot enough for me to invest, and so I invested in that film, and that the rest is history. Ever since then, I've had the bug, if it includes Sanaya,
Right.
Because I make my money in drywall. That's really where I make my money. So why do I want to invest in a film that doesn't involve my daughter? I mean, I wasn't that much into film, but so yeah.
Why the horror genre?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I got the bug, and my daughter is really good at horror. She's a natural, and so she, she starred in. Well, she met Jason Brooks, who is a producer, a director as well. In fact, he did the Death of Snow White, which I'm sure you're leading up to, but. He also played Jason Voorhees in fan films. And I don't know if you know that what that genre is, but it's we would do Friday the 13th fan film, and you're okay doing that, but you can't make money off it.
Right.
You can recoup your money that you put into it, but you can't make money. So anything over and above, you have to donate.
Okay.
So we donated to Children's Hospital, Nile Country Club, whatever. We did I think three fan films: Vengeance 1, Vengeance 2, and Roseblood, and they were all filmed at my house in Woodinville, and because I have property, and in the backyard I built a set, believe it or not. And so right now it's a church. And when you go there, I have a church in my backyard. It's a small church, but it's a church. And
built.
Yeah. Well, I had my guys.
I would say, right.
Yeah. I didn't really get out there, but I have photos of them in the snow building a church, building a cabin. It started out a cabin, it turned into a church. But yeah, so that, I just, the genre intrigued me. I've done a couple others. Killcraft was one. It's not a horror, but it's an action film. And that's about it. Otherwise, it's been horror.
Well, so now, if I remember from our earlier conversations, you did some wrestling, and I think in high school.
Yeah.
And then you did some, I think you were reasonably intense cyclist for a bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe talk about that. And I'm assuming that was probably while you were still, an employee, as opposed to, at least the cycling part, because I think that was after school, right? Or after high school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what got you into cycling? Was that something that, there was, someone else?
No, again, it was the friend that got me into drywall, got me into cycling, because I tore my knee up snow skiing, and really the only sport you could do to help for physical therapy, they recommended cycling, swimming, which I would sink to the bottom before I could swim. So and there was one other sport, but either way, I didn't like it. You couldn't go out and run. You couldn't, that was a no. But cycling was good on the knee. So he enticed me to go out and cycle. And this is was back when. Well, first off, let me back up a second. He introduced me to cycling before I tore my knee up.
Oh.
And being the wrestling background, the football background, the athletic background that I had, I thought, yeah, I'll go, I'll cycle with you, no problem, right? Oh my gosh, it's completely different.
Yeah.
You use your lungs and your legs 1,000%. That's all it is lungs and legs. And 20 minutes into the ride, I was like, okay. The first hill
Hills are
was,
tough.
oh my gosh, it was like somebody threw an anchor on the back of my bike.
Right.
What the heck happened? Where I could stay up with you and actually pull you on the flats because I was bigger and stronger and younger. But as far as going up the hills, you would go by me like there's no tomorrow. So I stayed with it though, like everything else, and eventually, caught up to him, and he could still beat me on the hills. To this day, he could actually destroy me. He's probably 80, 85 now,
Wow.
and he's still strong. His name's Terry Peters, by the way. But that's who got me into cycling, and so then I tore my knee up, and that's when I was barely into cycling. I tore my knee up, and that's when I really got into the drywall with him.
And so you stayed, it sounds like, pretty reasonably fit, maybe until your mid-50s, early to mid-50s. Is that about right?
Yeah, I stayed fairly fit until my mid-30s,
Okay.
and I got a little bit out of shape, but not so bad I couldn't get it back. And
Right.
and I really, I don't want to blame my late wife, because it's not her fault that she got breast cancer and passed away from it. But when she got breast cancer, it was focus on her getting
Sure.
better. So for 2 years when she fought cancer, I put everything in the back burner for her. So I got a little bit out of shape, but then when she passed away, God rest her soul. When she passed away, then I said, okay, now it's me time, and you got to get back in shape. And so I lost about 30 pounds. I put on about 30 pounds. I lost all the weight in when I was probably well, no, she passed away. I was 40 when she passed away. 42 when she passed away. And so that's in relations to me gaining weight, that was when. So and then I married Tammy, who I'm still married to now to this day. We've been married 22 years. We just had our January 14th was our
Congratulations.
anniversary. And that's who I had Sanaya with, my daughter. And so she knew, she knew I'd put on weight, and she wanted me happy and stuff. So she paid for a physical fitness trainer, and I got into training with him, and I lost quite a bit of weight and got back in shape, and I could compete again with anybody my age or younger even.
Right.
As you know.
Yeah. Well, so you get yourself, you're in really good shape again, from your early 40s all the way till about your mid-50s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then something shifts for you, and
Yeah.
and so now you've had about a 10-year window where maybe wasn't as much big of a priority. What was the shift there?
Well, it was pretty bad. It was a financial shift.
Mm.
I don't want to go into details, but I'll just say somebody embezzled from the company, and didn't pay the bills, and I found out after it was too late. I was getting phone calls, and I had, in the back of my mind, my radar was going up. Something's not right. Something's not right. And so a lady I trusted at work came in Memorial Day. It was like in 2012 Memorial Day. She came in and said, "Hey, Shawn, I got some bad news. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars that you owe to creditors. That's why I go into her office, and I say, "Hey, what is this?" And she would always tell me, "Oh, they've been paid. I don't know what they're talking about." And so So nonetheless, I mean, I could go on and on about that, but she found, you know, thousands of dollars. So I had, I mean, they repoed my car. They uh, you know, came to the house. I to refinance. I at the time you could qualify for whatever, but you had to be so far behind on your house payments to qualify. Well, if you're that far behind on your house payments, then you go into foreclosure, and so it was a roll of dice. So I literally went. I had to be 6 months behind on house payments to qualify for this program that helps people get out of debt. So I was probably 2.7, $3 million in a debt. I was worth negative, you know, 2.7, uh, and I don't know how. I looked at Tammy and said, how am I going to do this? And instantly I just said, well, we're going to sell everything we have. We're going to put it in a safe, and we're the only two that are going to know the combination of the safe and know that the cash is there, and then we're going to start over, and we're going to start our new company. And the old company, I will close it out by myself. I'll be the only one that goes to the old office and closes out the old company. And you and Rose, at the time, I hired Rose, um, are going to go start United Commercial, because we were Marquee Drywall. It was, I named it after my late wife's wedding ring. She had a Marquee diamond cut, so we were sitting around the table and Marquee Drywall. So anyway, so we went from Marquee Drywall. We closed Marquee Drywall down. I answered the phone, took the calls. You know, met with 2 different lawyers. They said, you're a perfect candidate for bankruptcy. I said, no, I can't claim bankruptcy, because if I claim bankruptcy, it means I give up. I put my creditors in a jeopardy. My supply houses, I built a name for myself. I don't want to crush it by going into bankruptcy. So let me close this out. Let me wheel and deal, and somehow I'll pay the last penny. And I did. I did. I paid off. I was telling, I forget who I was telling the other day. We, you know, when we wrote the last check that we owed money to, my wife and I looked at each other and just were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that's behind us." And so they started the company. I was in charge of both companies, obviously, but they literally, we had a little tiny little house in the back of our house where we lived, and that's where we moved our office to, because it was free. Everything was low budget at the time. It was like, hey, you know, I went from drinking $5 coffees to $1.50 cup of coffee. I scrimped and saved everything I had to start up this new business, and it's been successful ever since. And I think part of that is how I did it. You know, I really do believe that.
Well, so I feel like there's a movie here somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the resilience. I mean, you sound almost nonchalant about having lost your first wife. It sounds like that's a very traumatic thing. Obviously, it affected you physically. Then you go through this other situation where someone you trust betrays you, and you have to start all over again, reinvent yourself again. Pretty resilient guy. Where do you think that comes from?
I give all the credit to my father, really. I mean, he taught me how to work. He taught me how to work. My brothers, my 2 brothers, and I would, you know, work on his houses, like I said earlier, continuously. We would do all the dirty work, the sewers, we would unplug toilets. We would, just because you own rentals doesn't mean it ends there. There's maintenance on the rentals too, and so that was us. So
Well, so you met our friend Dr. Rich,
yeah,
on the Black String film, which I saw. Cool film, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize your daughter was in that one as well. But so anyway, so you meet Dr. Rich, and of course, he's 61, looks like he's freaking 40.
Yeah.
I'm like, when I met him the first time, I'm like, are you drinking the blood of newborns? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. My wife.
If I ever met my age, you look better than I do.
Yeah. My wife and I have ribbed him a few times. We've said, hey, what are you doing that's different? Tell us your secret, because we know there's something going on. And he's no, I swear I'm not doing anything. I still think there's something There's
Yeah.
something in the water that him and his wife, they both look young,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
So
Well, so he comes and he talks to you about Titan Arc for the first time, and I'm guessing, if from the conversations from earlier, it sounded like you were mentally in that frame of mind, like because so my dad's just about to turn 84, and what I realized was he probably up until he was about 70, he could have turned it around. I mean, 84, he's not on any medication, so he's pretty healthy by most 84-year-old standards. But, his bone density shrank like 6 inches. He lost a ton of muscle. Um, and I really do feel like up until about 70, he could have really turned that corner. And which you're about 5 years before that. So it's like you still got this window where you can turn it back. And I actually think, because we were talking about this, I heard you talking about it earlier. Well, maybe I won't feel like I was 30 again. I actually think you can. Now, I don't think
nice.
we won't look like we're 30, right?
Yeah.
But I think physically, what we can do physiologically, with some of the stuff that we're going to do at Titan, I actually think you can. And I think you can do it. The other thing that I've learned is the commitment of time and energy, that there's so, like, everything that I thought I knew about diet, exercise, testing has been turned on its head in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's so maybe talk a little bit about, kind of your first conversation with Rich about, all things related to Titan Arc and what made you think this is something I really want to commit myself to.
Yeah. It was about 8 months, maybe a year ago, when he brought it up. I wasn't involved at all at the time, but we talked about it, and he said, "Yeah, I'm thinking about Titan Arc," and actually wasn't even, I don't even think he had a name at the time
Right.
when we started, but yeah, what do you think about living longer? It kind of started out that way, and I said, well, yeah, I'll be great, and I'd like that, but how? And so the more we talked, the more uh, he would send me literature, and he would send me doctors' names that started uh, you know the the fad of, well, not even a fad, but the idea of living better, longer, and I kind of bought into it. I said, yeah, that's a great idea. Well, then it morphed into, about 6 months ago, he said, well, how would you like to be patient one? And I'm like, uh, well, I don't know. I never really thought about it, but yeah, it kind of fits me right now, because every day that I wake up, I think about how I used to be fit, and I used to be lighter, and I got a daughter to worry about now. I got a wife to worry about. I want to be around for them. I feel good. Every day I wake up, I want to have more energy. Yeah, okay. Well, let's give it a shot. And today was day one. And let me back up. So he mentioned it to me, and I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Well, then it turned into, he would send me literature, and then I knew he was serious about it. So then I had to take a step back. I thought, well, you're serious about this. Okay, do I really want to do it or not? Well, I started to say earlier, I, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to work out and lose weight and get fitter, but why not take it a step farther and live longer and feel better, and not just wake up and look in the mirror and say, you look pretty good. Feel good.
Yeah.
That's the key to
This guy told me this phrase, vitality, not vanity.
yes.
Yeah, you make that shift from vanity to vitality.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and there's some reality to that. I mean, you wake up, it's literally happens overnight. I'm 65 years old now, and then it well, I didn't want to make this part of the story, but my father passed away back in July,
Mm.
and he lived with my wife and I and my sister for about a year before he passed away. He would switch houses and come and stay with
Wow.
us and come. He was 91 when he passed away.
Oh, okay.
So he lived a long life, but he was mid 80s and still kicking rugs in.
Wow.
This guy was amazing. He was like 84, 85 years old when he finally retired. He said he hung up his shoes, so to speak. But before that, at 83, 84, he would drive to the house, pull a carpet out of the truck, to carry in it by himself. Uh, and I can't fathom that. Even now, I think to myself, no, I don't want to do that. I can't do that. So he inspired me to, to take better care of myself, because you only have one shot at life. I don't care who you are. You don't have one time. It's said it's better. You're going to be happy when you pass away and go meet God and stuff like that. But why not make it the best while you're here?
Yeah.
That was the key, and it was back to the vanity versus feeling good. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I know I'm not going to look 30. There's just no way I'm ever going to look 30 again, even 40, even 50. But if I can feel 30, 40, or 50 again, because I felt great at 50.
Yeah.
I felt great. I mean, I would hear people saying out the side of their mouth, oh my gosh, that guy looks good. He's 50, and I'd hear my wife all proud, and he's 50. And they just couldn't believe I was 50. And now I don't hear so much. I don't hear out the back of side of anybody's mouth, oh, that guy looks good. I don't really care anymore, but I want to feel good.
Sure.
And so Dr. Richard Hanley came along at the right time.
Well, so how do your wife and daughter feel about the journey you're on?
They're still well, I'm still baby steps. I don't really know what I've gotten myself into, to be honest with you. I'm learning more and more. I've learned more this weekend, or this week, since Thursday, which was yesterday. Yeah, it's only Friday. I've learned more in 2 days than I've known all along. So I had a conversation on the phone with my wife and daughter. Actually, we talk every night. It's called Meet, I think.
A Google Meet?
Yeah, Google Meet.
Yeah.
And so we do that every night, because first of all, my daughter lives here in LA now, and so she Google Meets my wife and I every night. So they called last night. I called them back late last night and clued them into what I learned that day, which was a lot. Yesterday, I learned a lot about. And my daughter's so funny. She goes, oh, I can't remember what I said. I said something about, I did a question and answer last night with Augustina, and we talked about how if you need to talk to somebody, go ahead and call me. But right now, this question and answer, I'm going to feed it, and we're going to create an archangel for you. And honestly, I didn't know what an archangel was.
Right.
And my daughter goes, wait, what? An archangel? Do you know what an archangel is? And I go, I at the time I didn't know. I said, no, I think it has something to do with AI, right? And she goes, yes, Dad. I'm watching a show right now on TV. It's called Archangel, and I guess there's a TV show called Archangel, and the archangel took over the guy's body, that he that owned the archangel, and the next thing you know, she slaps her forehead like that and goes, "Oh, Dad, I can't believe you're getting into that. I can't believe it. Next time I call you, it might be the archangel that I'm talking to." And she was joking, but yeah, it's pretty cool though. The AI world is, I'm learning, about it as we speak, but I'm understanding it more and more. In fact, we went for a VO2 max today,
Right.
and we were interested at the end of the VO2 max, which went well, by the way. We were interested in the guy. The guy sold machines, weight machines, and he had this one that was AI generated.
Oh, the ARX.
I don't know. I don't even know what it was called because he introduced me to just the bike, the stair step,
Yeah.
the treadmill, the whatever, the weightlifting stuff. So anyway, he had this one that was AI, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I can't retain everything he said,
Yeah.
but it's something about you get on the machine, and it tells you what your max is, and it won't let you go past a certain weight. So let's say you're benching 150,
Right.
and that's it. You can't go to 170 until you qualify for unless AI lets you go to.
Well, so if it's a machine, I think what it does is, because, when you think about like a regular range of motion, you're much stronger. Like if you're doing dumbbell and curl, you're much stronger here than you are here, but it's a fixed weight. With the ARX, with the AI machine, it's able to the entire range of motion through the strength arc. It can maximize the time under tension.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and so that it exhausts the muscle in a way so much faster, and so you can shrink the amount of time of the workout, but have the time under tension of a 20-minute workout be the equivalent to an hour and a half workout.
Yeah.
And so, which
that sounds about right.
Yeah, from a psychological standpoint, it's much easier to go really hard for 20 minutes than it is for an hour and a half.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, so part of the reason I was so excited to have you be client zero was, in fact, I keep telling Rich and Augustina, we have to stop saying patient, because that's our whole job, is to keep you from ever being a patient.
Yeah.
Right? We want you to be so healthy that you stay away from doctors and hospitals other than Dr. Rich.
Yeah.
But ultimately, why I'm so excited is because you have been an athlete before and you've got the mindset that you do. Because obviously, we want the first people that are doing, Titan Arc to be. We want all of them to obviously be hyper successful. But obviously, what the first ones are the most important. And honestly, the journey is, because I'm on the certain journey with you with Titan Arc stuff too, and it's so exciting because I've been trying to. I think it's what Dr. Rich's wants. It's what Augustina wants. It's what I've wanted. I've wanted this for myself for over a decade, and it just didn't exist. Partly because the technology wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it finally is. And so now the thing though is, you've got to find the intersection between the kind of thing that Augustina did with you yesterday, that personal human connection, at the same time being able to leverage AI in a way that you don't have to worry about hallucinations and things like that.
Mhm.
And so you've got curated best-in-class research that is, because the reality is there's a lot of stuff in the wellness longevity space that's bullshit. There's a lot of stuff that's untested. There's a lot of stuff that's just not true, but there's also a lot of stuff that is. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to basically curate this stuff. Hey, look, here's the stuff that we know is black and white science, the epigenetics, the genetics, the proteomics, all the things that are going to allow us to optimize everything for you. And instead of saying, here are the, 473 biomarkers, here's the 63 biomarkers that are out of range, here's the 27 thing for each of the 67 biomarkers, it hurts your head, as opposed to, no.
Yeah.
Focus on this, your biggest opportunity to improve. Focus on this, your biggest risk. Let's maximize this and mitigate this as much as we can. And if you do that and you chip away at those things, in 6 months and 9 months and in 12 months, you'll be a new guy.
Yeah.
That's
the key. And you hit the nail on the head. It's with Dr. Rich, at least for me, it's whatever I want to do.
Right.
It's at my pace, and that is important to anybody out there, because I have a company that I run, so I only have so much time to spend working out and understanding AI and stuff. So I need you to help me. I need someone to help me understand AI better, as and give me space to run my company at the same time. So it's just perfect timing. It's just I'm humbled that he even thought of me. I mean, that just blows me away.
You really are the perfect candidate, honestly.
I look in the mirror and I say, you probably could have got somebody better looking, or whatever, because you've seen what are they videos on YouTube and stuff, and they're always the best looking dudes and the best looking ladies, and they're fit human beings, and they got muscles bulging out of their muscles and stuff. And so what I really liked about you is the Titan Arc is they picked me. You know, I'm just a regular guy. I don't have anything special that I think is special anyway. And it's very encouraging that I can get back what I had, and what I know I can get back. You know, I've put it in the back burner for so long. As human beings, we tend to think out, you know, long term. We can always do what we can do today. We can do tomorrow, right? I can start tomorrow. Well, tomorrow comes, and then you say it again. I can start tomorrow, and then the next thing you know, it's a month, and the next thing you know, it's a year, and now it's been 10 years.
Right.
You know, that I'm going to start tomorrow. You know, so it was timing. It was perfect timing that Rich came to me and offered me this once in a lifetime opportunity to make the better me.
Well, I think you're a very humble guy. You know, your resilience and the path you've been on, most people would not have come out the other side the way you did. So you got to give yourself a lot of credit. And I think that's also going to be why you're going to be so successful at this, and you're going to make us look good, which is better for everybody. But it's you know, it's funny. I'm reminded of I probably watched Rocky too many times. The Apollo Creed speech. There is no tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The Rocky, I think it was Rocky 6 maybe, or
Something
5,
like that.
when he gave the speech to his son.
Oh,
It's
I
not
remember that speech.
It's not how hard you get hit. It's you get up at the or something. I don't remember what he says, but
It's not how hard you hit; it's how hard you can hit and still get up.
yeah, you get hit and still get up. Yeah, that's, you know, if anything, that's me.
Yeah.
You know, it's you knock me down, I'm getting back up.
Well, having your daughter too. You know, how old is Sanaya?
She's 21 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy how time flies. She started when she was 4. She started acting when she was 4.
Amazing. I have a 26-year-old daughter, so not so different in age.
Okay.
And I'm the same way, which is like I have this. I want to be hiking with her when I'm 85, 95, and she's 50, 55, 60. I want to be able to do those things because, like, those are the memories you remember. Those are the things that you want to be able to travel. You want to be able to, my dad's, turning 84 and he still travels, but it's a lot tougher now.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy either. I want to be like, it sounds like you dad.
I want to be.
I need to live to forever, but however long I live, I want to be functional.
Yeah. I want to be like my dad. I want to work hard like my dad, but I want to be like Terry Peters. The go-getter, be able to ride at 85, be able to kayak 85, 86 years old and compete against the 30-year-olds. Right. He's not as spry as he was, but he's amazing.
So does he know anything about Titan Arc? Or?
No, but he will.
It's gonna be that'll be cool when you guys are doing stuff together.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, I have a few friends in mind that I'm gonna. A little success goes a long ways. I need to be a little successful before I pitch it. But man, based on what I learned since yesterday, it's for everybody.
Well, if you don't mind me, just digging into it a little bit as we look to wrap up here, maybe just talk a little bit about the process, right? So far, and I know we're only a couple days in here. But maybe just talk about the process a little bit and kind of maybe what were the parts maybe that surprised you a little bit that maybe were a little different than you expected?
Nothing. Yeah. We talked about that I talked about that with Frank and Rich on the way here. What can we do? We there's a few things that I would change, but not much. Yeah. I got picked up from the airport to start with, which was cool. I flew into LAX. I got picked up by Dr. Richard and Frank. They picked me up. They took me to the hotel where I stayed. I stayed at a beautiful hotel, Casa something.
Casa del Mar, yeah.
Casa del Mar.
Very nice, yeah.
And the first impression was fabulous. You walk in the lobby and it's like, okay, you're in a movie. And we went up to the pool. We looked out and there's the beach and stuff. So off to a good start, right? And so then we did the EKG that night, and that went well. I mean, we're thinking, well, do you want to do the EKG, or what do you think of doing it all in one day, or do you want 2 days or whatever? And we, when it all push came to shove, how you guys set it up is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, you could fine tune some of the stuff, how it goes down, but you know, I talked to them. I let them know that you have to fast, first of all,
Yeah.
which is, it's not the end of the world. I mean,
10, 12 hours, right?
yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's I think we figured out I fasted 18 hours before I ate. So it's, you know, yeah, it was hard, but it wasn't hard. And the hardest part was not having coffee. So I haven't had coffee for, well, till whoops, sorry about that. We had coffee on the way, the way here.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah, I think it went down. There's nothing I would change.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, again, I try to stay as far away from doctors and hospitals as humanly possible because it never goes well. But it's like being able to have something where you feel like you actually have real data, real science, so that the decisions you make don't feel random and almost like you're a guinea pig on yourself,
Yeah,
because you don't know what's really going to work and what's not. You're told, do this. No, don't do that. Do this. No, don't do that. And it's all over the place. And so to have it be really structured and rigorous, to me is I feel like I'm spending my time wisely. And I'm like you, I don't have a lot of extra time. And so I want to make sure that the time I spend is getting me the results that I want so that I can enjoy my life as much as possible.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, sharing your experience, and for being Client Zero, because I know you're going to kill it. We'll be on this journey together, all of us, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me to be Patient Zero. You know, that means everything to me, that I was invited.
Well, like I said, you're going to make us all look good.
Well, I hope so. That's the plan.
Yeah. No, I'm super confident, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.